Live from the Glasgow Electric Plant Board, Glasgow Wants to Know. With your host, Mr. Uhel Barrickman.
Welcome. Tonight we have with us the two candidates, the Republican and the Democrat candidate for the House of Representatives from our legislative district. The Republican candidate is the gentleman sitting to my left, Steve Nunn. The Democrat candidate is the gentleman sitting across from me, John Rogers. I'm going to ask each to briefly give a resume of their background and education and work. Mr. Nunn first. And I probably the last time I'll call you Mr. or Nunn tonight. It'll be Steve from here on out. Steve.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Uhel. And of course, I was born here in Glasgow, and I grew up on South Green Street. My parents are Louis and Beulah Nunn, and I've been fortunate to have two outstanding parents who also have been two outstanding leaders here in the state of Kentucky. I lived here until I was 15 when my dad was elected governor. We moved to Frankfort. I graduated from high school from Frankfort High School. Went to Transylvania University and graduated there. Went to law school at the University of Louisville School of Law. I have been a farmer in Barron and Metcalfe counties. I've been a partner with Lottie Calvert and Calvert and Nunn Insurance. I've been state representative for 6 years, and it's been an honor to serve the people during that capacity, and I look forward to continuing.
Mr. Rogers, and from now on, John.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm John Rogers, and I'm the Democrat running to be your state representative. I was born and raised here in Barron County, and I was born right here, and was raised by my parents, Jim Rogers and Elizabeth Ann Rogers. My dad was postmaster, retired as postmaster, served 39 years with the Postal Service as a dedicated public servant. His father before him worked in the Postal Service for many years. My great-great-grandfather, John Rogers, was a delegate to the Constitutional Convention of 1850 prior to the Civil War. And his dad, Edmund Rogers, was one of the first members, was on the first fiscal court in Barron County. So there's a long history of public service in my family, and I want to try to continue that. I went to college at Eastern Kentucky University, and then went to graduated from there, and I'm a graduate of the University of Kentucky College of Law. I received my degree there, and then worked in various areas of government. I've worked in all three branches of government. I'm married to LaDonna Gwynn, and we have 3 young children. And if I can just take a personal side, Mr. Barrickman, my kids asked me to say hello to them tonight. So Gwen and Catherine, hello. And also John Thomas. I have twins. They're 5 years old, and John Thomas is 2 years old, and they're home tonight. But that's basically my background. I am a prosecutor currently, is my profession, prosecuting attorney. I'm assistant Commonwealth attorney, and I'm very proud to serve in that position, and would like to take my experience and serve as state representative.
In noticing the ads of each of you, you talk about, each of you talks about being a friend of the farmer and wanting to help the farmer. And of course, farming is one of the basic, if not the most basic, economy that we have in your legislative district. Mr. Nunn, what do you propose to do for the farmers in case you are reelected?
The people and farmers of Barron County represent the #1 county in the state of Kentucky in agricultural commodities. When you combine dairy farming, beef farming, tobacco, grain, and hay, Barron County is the #1 agricultural county in the state. We have worked hard in the legislature to promote the Department of Agriculture in every facet that we could to put more money into it. Here in this community, I think our #1 agricultural priority is the marketing center over at Cave City. It's a very important concept that we've been working on for 2 or 3 years, and there's a group of people who are making the effort to make that a reality for us. But it's very important that we do that. Beef production and having a beef processing plant here in the state would be very good, and I support that and think it's a wonderful idea. I think we need some adjustments in workers' comp and other areas to make that a reality, but it's certainly a priority. There's a number of things that we can do to promote more hay and milk production. There's just a number of areas, but I think working with the various groups, with the Commissioner of Agriculture, with the Farm Bureau Federation, Soil Conservation District, all these groups working together will help us. It's very difficult in the legislature to do more than put money into it and help the other groups make these things happen. It's a priority, though, to make agriculture work for us.
Do you need, insofar as you know, any enabling legislation to help any or all of these projects along?
Funding is the number one name of the game. The projects need money. Really, they can be done without enabling legislation.
Mr. Rogers.
Yes, the number one priority that I will have is I'll work with our Commissioner of Agriculture, Democrat Billy Ray Smith. He's endorsed my campaign and my ideas and my proposals, and I'll work with Commissioner Smith and see that the things that I propose for this area get done. I want to talk about agriculture and alfalfa hay production. We need to reestablish a marketing and testing office to test and help our alfalfa hay producers. I've talked with some of them. They need help in marketing and testing alfalfa hay to make a better product so that they can market that product and market a better product to the folks that buy alfalfa hay. I'll work with Commissioner Smith in, as Steve said, establishing a beef slaughterhouse processing facility in this area. It can be done. It will be done. Commissioner Smith is as we speak, working on that, and I'll work with him on that. And I think I can do that because he's willing to work with me and my ideas in that area.
You mentioned a testing agency for alfalfa. Didn't we have one at one time?
We did at one time, and I'm going to work very hard and will urge Commissioner Smith to reestablish that here in Barron County.
When was that eliminated here?
I'm not for sure, but I want to see it back because our farmers need the help of that office to market their product and to test it so they can produce a better quality alfalfa hay. We have some of the finest farmers right here in Barron County, in Warren County. And if they get help, I am generally, as a rule, against government intervention in our lives. But the Agriculture Department in Frankfort can help our farmers in some ways, and this is a perfect example of a way that they can do that, and I am in full support of it.
We have legislation which allows tax incentives for certain industries. Do we need additional legislation to have tax incentives for these projects that we're talking about?
I think we might focus more on the agricultural incentives, but I think we've got a good number of incentive packages as we've been recognized recently as one of the 5th best states in the country to locate new business in. I think we would be even higher than that if our workers' compensation laws were changed, and I think we'll probably talk about that later. But I think
very soon.
I think we're in pretty good shape as far as what we're giving out, because the Herald Leader and the other newspaper, the Courier Journal, have done studies that show that a lot of times you can give away more than what you get back. But I think in the case of agriculture, we have not focused enough on providing the incentives which you referred to.
Right off the top of my head, I don't recall any agricultural manufacturing unit having received any incentives here.
Yes, sir, I think that's correct.
They have this Albany deal over there, if that finally goes through, and then one in Owensboro about the chicken processing plants. I think there were incentives there. Do you think we need more incentives?
I do.
John?
That's part of my economic opportunity plan that I introduced on October 1st. It's one of the planks of that. But let me say also that I am in full support. We provide a lot of incentives for industry, and we also need to provide incentives for agriculture-related industries. But one of my proposals, Mr. Barrickman, is that we focus on high-tech jobs. And if we focus on that, what we need to do is we need to say that if we need to create a plan and pass legislation to do this, that if we provide, if a company comes in and provides jobs that are 50% higher than the average wage of the area, then we'll provide incentives to them to locate those jobs here in their industry, whether they're new jobs or whether it's a new industry. And we need to focus on that, on high-tech jobs, because that's the future of industry, is the high-tech jobs. All jobs in industry nowadays are going more high-tech and high-paying jobs. We have a lot of good, solid, quality jobs in Barron County, but we need to focus on recruiting more higher-paying jobs.
What good is the incentive for that going to do if you don't have qualified personnel to fill the jobs?
Well, we're working on that, and here in Barron County they've established a program to help train people to be more productive and for the high-tech jobs, and we're working towards that area, and that's one thing that I'm in support of too. Let's provide free vocational technical education to those students, whether they be young students or older students that need to be retrained. Let's provide that vocational and technical training for them, and also college is part of my proposal. Free tuition to them if they maintain a B or better average. Full support of that program. Other states have done it. I'm in support of it, and I think we've got the money to do it, whether it be lottery proceeds. That's one area we could pay for it with, and Georgia has done it, for example, and we can do it here in Kentucky.
We get back to proceeds and revenue later, I hope. You've mentioned work comp twice already, Steve, and the governor has indicated, I don't think it's a formal announcement yet, but he has indicated he's going to call a special session to deal with the work comp law, I believe in December. What's wrong with the present work comp law? Why do you say we need to change it?
Well, we could talk the whole hour on this one topic, and I'll be very brief. I'll be very brief here. The question is, why should we change it?
Yes. What's wrong with it?
Kentucky is at a competitive disadvantage with the surrounding states because of our definition of injury, our definition of disability is too broad. I think most people recognize our need to take care of the injured worker, and there has not been a proposal out there to cut benefits to the injured worker. All we're trying to do is to recognize who is injured and who is not, because in eastern Kentucky especially, the program is used as a social economic welfare system for a lot of the coal miners in eastern Kentucky. We have a certain problem because coal has never paid its way through the last 30 or 40 years, and we've built up a tremendous unfunded liability. It's $2.6 billion in the special fund right now, and it's going to at some point cause serious harm to our financial or our fiscal budget process here in this state. So I have offered a 55-page bill with 16 points in it to help rectify the problems that we have with workers' comp. I've introduced it in the legislature. I've given a copy to the governor, and I think that what we're looking for is a reasonable change in the law. Not anything drastic, but something that is reasonable to help bring Kentucky into a competitive situation with Tennessee, Indiana, and other states.
How'd you come up with these 16 points? Are they strictly your ideas?
No, sir.
No, sir.
They are a mixture of listening and watching what has happened in this state by attending the labor and industry meetings. Some of the things are good for labor and for workers by eliminating the 7-day waiting period. It helps to encourage the worker to get back to work. For those workers that are totally disadvantaged or disabled and injured and can't work, we are upping to and 10% their weekly disability check, and trying to get them more money because they can't live on what they were getting at 100% disability.
Can you briefly give us the 16 points?
Well, let's see. All right. We're going to change the definition of injury. We're not going to include a grid system, a complicated system. We're just going to take out the normal aging process. We're going to change the definition of disability because it has a regional lock on it, so that people that are in eastern Kentucky, if they can't work in the coal mine, they don't transplant to other places where they can work because of the monetary language in that. We're going to limit attorneys' fees to what they actually contribute to an injured worker's case. We're going to...
How are you going to do that?
Well, all right, if you are injured and I'm your employer and I offer you $10,000 to settle, and John Rogers becomes your attorney and he gets you $15,000, he's going to get a part of all $15,000 that you have gotten for your award, when all he helped you get was the $5,000 because I already offered you the $10,000. So the object is to get more money into the injured worker's pocket and less money into the attorney's. It's not against attorneys, it's for the injured worker. And that should be very clear, that we're trying to do things that will get money into the injured worker's pocket so he can take care of his family, not into the attorney who was no part of the $10,000 that was originally offered to you.
What are some of the other points?
Okay, there are points about, as I mentioned, eliminating the 7-day waiting period, increasing benefits to totally disabled workers. KEMI, the Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance Fund, needs 7 years to expand its base so that it will be actuarially sound. In the initiating legislation, they only got 3 years. Let's see. There are...
Any provision about controlling medical costs?
Yes, sir. We have already set up a hospital fee schedule and a medical fee schedule. That is part of legislation that I introduced during the last session, which will continue to try and control the cost of what we're spending with still allowing good access for the injured worker.
Going to leave that as it is?
Yes, sir.
Now?
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. There's a lot of other things. At this point, I'm going to have to regroup here and think about what they are.
John,
Yes, sir.
do you think that the present work comp law needs doctoring? I believe, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that during the time he's been in the legislature has tried to fix it, what, at least twice?
In House Bill 928, we made an effort. Yes, sir. That was in '94.
Well, I was thinking there was another effort in '92, but I guess I'm wrong about that. But at any rate, there have been several times within the last 10 years, there have been attempts to fix the work comp law, and none of them seems to have worked, at least to the satisfaction of everybody, and particularly, I think, to the satisfaction of the public generally. What do you think? Do you think it needs changing, and if so, how?
There are definitely changes that need to be made. And let me say, first of all, and I'm on record, and I'll say it again here tonight, my position is, and I differ with the governor on this, the special session, if there is one on workers' comp, needs to be called in January. And the reason for that is this. There are a lot of legislators that won't be reelected, possibly. And you'll have a lot of lame duck legislators sitting in Frankfurt in December, November and December. And the susceptibility of special interest dabbling in the workers' comp issue is too great. We need to have those folks that have been elected in November, on November 5th, to handle the workers' comp problem, the ones that are accountable to us. There are definitely, things that need to be addressed. The definition of injury, as Steve mentioned. The special fund, there's a problem with that. That needs to be addressed. Possible abolishment of that, and look at that, there's definitely a problem there. Workers' comp is a very complex issue. And what we need to do is take a look at it, about a month ago, I guess, Mike McCandless, who is a provides work comp insurance, addressed the Rotary Club here in Glasgow and talked about how some of the workers' compensation insurance rates are beginning to come down from some of the legislation that you mentioned. And so we are seeing some improvement in it, but there's still things that need to be addressed.
Steve, does your bill retain or abolish the special fund?
It phases it out over 3 years, Uhel. And it does so that insurance companies have time to adjust. If you chop off the special fund and the liability, they've been paying about 45 cents out of every claim. If you chop that off, and insurance companies then pick that up, because the special fund is paid by employers, it isn't paid by insurance companies. Then insurance companies, thinking they're going to have to pick up that 45 cents on every dollar, are going to have a knee-jerk reaction and cause rates to increase. And rates have been coming down in Kentucky and across the country, and I think that's one of the points that I've been trying to emphasize to the legislature. The National Council on Compensation Insurance has published a document that shows that profits are up 18% for insurance companies, so that it is a very profitable business for them. The correlation is that as profits go up, premiums come down to some degree. So if our premiums are going down by 7% here in Kentucky, but they're going down by 6% in Tennessee and Indiana, we have not gained the competitive advantage that we need to get closer to them in order to attract business. And as I thought for a minute, there are about 4 points related to the coal industry and pneumoconiosis, black lung, that we must address, because coal miners right now are 95% of every miner who files for a black lung claim receives a substantial award, and pulmonologists, let's see, doctors have decided and have proven that only about 4 to 5% of those instances should be compensated for, when 95% are being compensated for.
The 94 legislation, as I recall, permitted the formation of what I call alliances outside of insurance companies, did it not? For
competitive insurance?
Yes.
That's the Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance Company. That's a competitive state fund that competes with insurance companies.
Made up of essentially some alliances, like in the health bill that.
No, sir. It's a single entity.
It's a single entity.
Yes, sir. And it's working very well right now.
That was my next question.
Yes, sir. It's doing very well, but it needs to be extended to the 7-year period, because it's supposed to assess its policyholders if it is running at a deficit in trying to keep its assets and liabilities in order. So we've got to extend that period from 3 to 7 years in order to give them time to build up the reserves that will make them sound, because we've got to be careful they don't end up just like the assigned risk pool did several years ago, which caused a lot of assessments and just tangled up the whole workers' comp industry.
Do you have any other comments about work comp?
Just one thing I want to address, and that is there is definitely, as in any type of insurance-related matters, there's definitely fraud in workers' comp. We need to address that and see that if there's any fraud-related costs that we've got in workers' comp that drive our premiums up, we need to address that with legislation and see that we get rid of it all. I prosecute welfare fraud cases every day. I know the fraud is going on, and we need to see that that's addressed.
Apparently we still have a problem in Kentucky about health insurance premiums. The 94 legislature under Governor Jones attempted to address that issue and passed a bill. My recollection is you had some input,
yes, sir,
into that bill, and then the 96 legislature comes along and emasculates a lot of it and leaves a lot of it. And that is the bill that provided for alliances and mandated certain governmental units had to be in the unit, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
I'll address this to you, Steve. under the present, well, first of all, I don't guess it's had time to the new law to really tell whether it's working or not. But do you think that that issue needs to be addressed again by the legislature, or you think that the way it is now, it's going to start controlling premiums?
Well, I think before we take any action, we need to get through the current court battle going on between Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield about proprietary information, what they should disclose and what they should keep private. That battle is going on right now with the Attorney General Ben Chandler's office, who is acting as consumer advocate for all Kentuckians who purchase health insurance right now, and the Department of Insurance, who will ultimately approve or disapprove these rate filings. So as soon as we can conclude the court battle over proprietary information, we will know why the rate filings are going up and what is responsible for the rate increases that are being proposed. And if we can determine that the rate increases being proposed are on the basis of legislation currently in effect, then I have sent the governor a letter asking him to assess this situation, and we should repeal those parts which are driving up cost, with the exception of guaranteed issue, renewability, and portability. But if the rate increases that are being filed for are justified and are being caused by either new technology, new services, utilization of services, people going to doctors, hospitals, nursing homes, and prescription drugs, then I think we've got to look at that as a separate approach and try and get control, get more managed care quickly into the state. And then we've got to also address the expenditures of Medicaid, which we're doing with an 1113 waiver right now, separating the state into 7 regions. And then we've also got to look at Medicare, because our elderly population is very concerned about this. The cost of prescription drugs is primary on their mind, and the medical bills that they're confronted with.
John?
Mr. Barrickman, I was talking with a young mother out in Uhel the other day, and she is very, very concerned about the rising cost for health insurance. She works very hard to make ends meet. Her husband's a farmer. She's got a small business there at home. And she is just outraged that her insurance rates have gone as high as they have. I think it's outlandish, and I'm not interested in waiting for a court case. I think it's outlandish that big insurance companies are permitted to charge excessive rates without disclosing their profits dollar for dollar. And I'll see that legislation is passed to force them to disclose those rates. And that's my pledge to the voters here tonight.
So you do think that we need additional legislation on the
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Health insurance field. One quickie, again related to health insurance, and that's the maintenance organization policies. Under the present law in Kentucky, the provider, not the provider of the insurance provider, the insurance company, can force the doctors that enter into the organization to agree not to criticize the plan or to tell their patients even about what it covers. There was an article in yesterday's Courier-Journal about Humana has finally eliminated that clause from their policies, but there's no law in Kentucky to prevent that.
Well, I think there certainly needs to be a law for that. Now, we do have full disclosure already in place. What John is referring to in his last statement, we currently have in place. That's why they have gone to court to challenge our legislation that we currently have. Now, HMOs are a plan to try and manage care, manage our dollars more effectively. And insurance companies are utilizing HMOs to try and stretch our dollars further. But you still have 2 other plans. You've got fee-for-service and PPO plans that are available.
But they are similar to, that's still a managed plan.
No, sir. They're not part of managed care plan. And insurance companies have to pay in a fee-for-service plan, which I think most people in this area would have a fee-for-service plan. They would have to pay for your doctor visits, and where you get to pick where you go, and they don't direct you. And as far as individuals who want to complain about their insurance coverage or about their ability to see a physician, if there's any of you people out there, I wish you would call me, because I'd like to be made aware of a situation like that, because I think that's something we can get some direct and immediate response to.
I tell you what I don't think is right. We've got good local doctors here in our community, provide the best service you can get anywhere. And we don't need some technician or some nurse or somewhere up in New York or out in California telling our doctors what kind of care they need to provide to their patients. The patients have a right to go to the doctors. I feel like that they should have that right to go to the doctor that they choose, and the doctor should have a right to provide the care that they want to provide.
Well, the HMO plans, as I understand them, and I've looked into some of them, have a built-in conflict between the doctor and the health provider and the insurance company, because the less the doctor orders or recommends diagnostic procedures and so forth, the more money he makes under most of these plans. And there is a built-in conflict between the doctor and the provider and the insurance company. And that disturbs me.
I tell you, I trust our doctors here in Glasgow and Barron County, and I think
trust the doctors in Glasgow and Barron County too. But as I told Mr. Dickinson last night, there are bad apples in all barrels, and that applies to doctors and the legal profession and all other professions. And it is the bad apples that cause the problems. So you have to take care of the bad apples in order to preserve the good ones.
Well, that's the danger, Uhel, of going to managed care, because you're trying to control your dollars. Your dollars become the emphasis rather than the care you're getting, and I think that's what you're referring to.
That's my point exactly.
So I think what we've got to do is find that balance between good quality care and how much we can afford to pay for that care. And that's the struggle that's going on right now in healthcare reform, because the healthcare industry is the fastest growing segment of our economy. And I think we're going to have to make some tough decisions in the years ahead. We're making some of those decisions right now in Medicaid with what we're doing, because we're going to block grants, and sums of money are going to come to 7 different regions in the state, and that's all the money they're going to get, and they're going to have to take care of the Medicaid population and the indigent population in this state with that block of money, and quite frankly, it's a concern of mine that the quality of care is going to be affected.
Now let's talk about some things that were in the legislature last time, probably going to be there again, and then things that I perceive, and based on what I hear in the public perceives is going to be there, that weren't there last time. One is the act that was passed permitting you to get a permit to carry a concealed weapon. Why I think that's going to come back, among other reasons, I've had businessmen ask me, what happens if they put up a sign to keep people with guns from coming in, which they can do under the present law, and yet some fella, as inevitably is going to happen, comes in with a gun and kills somebody? What's the liability of the business owner who has told the public, I'm going to protect you, I'm keeping guns out of here? Now, it seems to me that that is a matter that needs to be looked at. Are you going to give the businessman some protection under the law and say that he can't be sued under those circumstances, or what are you going to do about it? It's not addressed in the bill. And you see what I'm driving at? I don't know what to tell the people when they ask me that question. John, you got any idea about that?
Let me tell you one thing I want to see changed in that law, and that is this. There was an amendment proposed that would permit a designation to be put on the driver's license or on car registration of a person that has a permit to carry a concealed weapon, a big red W. And that failed in the legislation, didn't get put on there. I want to see, a lot of police officers have come to me with that concern and want to see that added to the law. I'll see that that's done. I work with police officers every day as a prosecutor. They put their lives on the line, and we need to get that added to the law.
Steve, you got any comment?
Well, yes, sir. I supported the amendment that John refers to. I think that's a good amendment. But I think the employer that you refer to has the same protection today that he had then. He can't be held responsible for everyone that comes into his building, whether he's got a sign up that says no cursing or no guns or no anything. He's just got to use a reasonable degree of care, what a reasonable man would use to ensure the safety of the people in the building and his employees. But
that works both ways. Once he puts the sign up, the man that's going to do there has a reasonable opportunity to believe that that means that that store or that place of business is free of guns. And you can, there are already, not in Kentucky, I don't know of any, but I've already read cases in other states that's got this same law where you've got business people being sued today because of that. And it will rise.
Well, let's say this about the permit to carry bill. People are going to carry guns whether they have a permit or not. I don't know whether you're talking about the person who has a permit or the person who is illegally carrying the gun, which they are many of them out there today. But when we're talking about the permit to carry a weapon, there were 42 states who have currently in effect some legislation which allows people the right to carry a concealed weapon. And in none of those 42 states have we found that it's been an increase in crime, or those people who legally have their permit are committing crimes.
Well, I'm not arguing for or against the bill.
Yes, sir.
What I am saying, in response to what you're saying there, I would say this: two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to point out is, and I'm basing it on questions that I've already had as a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
There's loopholes in the bill.
Right.
And I think that it should be addressed again, if for no other reason, to close some of these loopholes.
I hope you'll bring the questions you have to my attention so we can address those.
There was a committee appointed by one of the recent legislatures, and I believe it was during Jones's administration, to study the tax code and come up with a report as to whether it needed to be revised or not, and if revision was needed, in what respects. And I don't think anything has come of that. They had a meeting and made a report, but as far as I've been able to tell, they didn't conclude anything. Do you think that there is a need to revise the tax code in the Commonwealth of Kentucky? Steve?
Yes, sir, I think there is. Our current tax system is based on a manufacturing economy, and our economy in Kentucky has moved more towards services, so we're missing a lot of revenue there. But the danger and the problem in the legislature is that anytime you want to change the tax code in any significant manner, you try and keep any change revenue neutral so that our budget and fiscal projections can remain on target as we look through the bienniums that we do the budgets, you want to try and keep it revenue neutral. So if you're going to change the tax code and remove some of the burden on the manufacturing segment or on used cars or various aspects, then you're going to have to increase your revenue on other services which aren't being taxed to the same level. So it's very difficult to relieve the tax burden probably in an equitable way where it should be, because you're going to be trying to keep your revenue up, and it's going to cause a higher tax on people who are going to scream very loudly. And these people that get the break are going to be real happy, but the people who you vote to increase their taxes are going to be screaming bloody murder. So that's the dilemma. That's just the plain old dilemma.
But
well, the inheritance tax, intangibles tax especially, and inheritance tax needs to be addressed. Now, we made some adjustments in this past session. You know,
yeah, I know about that. But
okay.
Well, do you think that there should be another committee or something appointed to study and come up with a plan?
Yes, sir.
Overall plan to alleviate the taxes that are too high and aren't equitable, and to raise them that are inequitable. And the only way you're ever going to solve the problem, it seems to me, is to have a complete overhaul of the tax code.
Well, you're going to have to get some tough, serious people in a room and sit down and do it, and that are not afraid of the political consequences.
And that wasn't done by this last...
That was not done. You're correct.
Well, are you going to try it again? Do you think the legislature should try to do something about it?
Yes, sir, I do.
John?
We've had commission after commission, as you mentioned, commission studying taxes and looking at it. There's some things that can be done. One thing we need to address is property taxes. It's a big concern here in Glasgow, rising property tax assessments. There needs to be a fair way of assessing property. We need to look at that, figure out a way to do that so that it's fair to everybody concerned. Some people's property is assessed one way, some another. Let's make it fair, assess them all equally, and then there won't be, hopefully, any complaints about that. Also, and you mentioned inheritance tax. I don't think it's fair to make an elderly person, or even a young person for that matter, file a inheritance tax return and go to the expense of doing that when no tax is owed. I'd like to see a change made in that.
Another law that was passed in the last session of the legislature that's, in my opinion, going to come back is what I call, and base it on the Bacon Act, which is the act that requires a minimum wage to be determined by the Department of Labor based on average wages for certain crafts and professions for all construction with public funds. And of course it definitely affects school districts and, well, the state and all governmental units, even volunteer fire departments. If they have something that I believe the limit is $200,000, is the way anything over $200,000 is the way I remember. Are you, if it comes up again, you vote for it or against it, Steve?
I've voted against it every time, Uhel, that it's been offered in the legislature. It was a terribly flawed bill this time because the way the prevailing wage is determined is flawed. It is basically union scale wage, and no effort is made by the Department of Labor to notify and even identify the other elements for whether it's road contractors or builders or engineers, whomever. It is seriously flawed, and I offered an amendment to cure that flaw and require the Department of Labor to notify contractors around the state that the prevailing wage was going to be redetermined, and required to be redetermined in specific periods of time, so that it would be more known to them. But here in Barron County, it's going to cost this county $2 million. It may cost us one elementary school that would be built in this county, and it's had a serious impact on us, and I would and there was an amendment to remove schools from the building, and it was defeated by the labor unions, and I think that it should be revisited during the next session of the legislature.
John, if it is for, are you for or against it?
The school administrators have talked with me about that, Mr. Barrickman, and they're concerned about that and adding the schools into that. And quite frankly, if it can be shown that the costs are increasing, and if it's causing us to lose projects, and if it's causing us that to happen, I am for taking the voices of our school administrators to Frankfort and working with our Democrat governor and saying, Governor, this is a problem. We can't get done what we need to get done. Let's change the law and let's take school, construction out of that, and then we can get done what we need to get done. And I want to take the voices of our school administrators here in Barron County and Glasgow to Frankfort, to our governor, who I can work with, and get that done.
But you would just want to eliminate it from school construction and not other governmental construction?
I think that's the major problem, is the school construction.
An allied question that was in the last legislature and will undoubtedly be there again. If for no other reason, the KEA will see that it's there, and that's the bill for to allow the school people and I think fire departments and police departments in cities of the first 4 classes to unionize. For or against, Steve?
Mr. Barrickman, I've voted against that bill each time that it's been presented.
I don't think you have to explain why or anything. We got a lot of other things.
Okay, I would just point to the no strike clause is unacceptable in my view.
For or against?
As long as it can be done and have a strong and enforceable no strike clause, then I would be for it.
You're for it if they put a strike clause, a no strike clause.
No strike, a strong and enforceable no strike clause.
And when and who's going to determine that it's enforceable?
Well, the legislature will have to do that.
You mean going to set out certain criteria in the bill as to if they establish a picket line, then it's not being enforced, or what are you going to put in the bill
Just
that would cover that is what I don't understand there. I'm not saying that you should or you shouldn't,
right,
John.
I understand.
But it seems to me what you're saying is if you have a strong no strike clause that can be enforced, I don't know how the legislature is going to fix it so it will be enforced.
Right. Well, I understand your concern there, but my position is that we need to allow their voices to be heard, our teachers and our public officials, public workers, and I want that to happen, but we can't allow them to hurt our students or our services by them going on strike.
Another thing that we've heard much about ever since the new educational law, CARA, was passed was some people complaining about it, a lot of people for it. Most of the complaints, as far as I've been able to ascertain, involve testing and also site-based councils. Steve, do you think the law needs amending, or are you happy with it as it is?
Well, I'm not happy with the testing system that we've got right now. I think there's some problems with portfolios, too much in the same year. I think the ungraded primary needs a little more flexibility, but especially the testing system that we've got, which we're basing our rewards and sanctions on, is it's not accountable the way I see it right now. And I think that we need to reevaluate what we're doing and try and get it to where we're basing it on a kid's performance rather than on a class of kids' performance. I don't think it's equitable to a group of students that are excellent students and go through your system and they raise you up there, and the next level of kids can't keep up, they're just not able to keep up. It doesn't have anything to do with whether the teachers are doing a good job. The kids aren't able to do it. And I think we've got to look at that to where we're trying to push each individual kid and not just classes and groups of kids, because each kid is an individual.
Can the remedy come from the legislature, or the problems that you're talking about essentially problems that need to be corrected through administration?
I think initially it has to come from the schools and through administration, and then we make the adjustments legislatively. But we've got to be sensitive to what's going on in the schools. We can't dictate everything down to the schools. It's got to come from the schools up, in my opinion.
John?
I agree with that. I want to see more local control from the school level. We need more thinking here about how things can be done, and not some more Frankfurt thinking coming down to us. What we need to do, I'm a big proponent of the school councils, and I think they need to have more control over how decisions are made. As far as the testing, I have taken the Cures test, and quite frankly, as far as the grading of it, there are problems with that. I want to work with the schools. I want to work with our local administrators, our local teachers, take their voices to Frankfurt and say, look, these are the things that they're saying that needs to be done. Let's make the changes, whatever they may be, and address their concerns.
Of course, there will be a bill in the legislature again to require a 24-hour waiting period for abortions and costly rules for abortion clinics. It's been the last two legislatures, I think, and I'm sure that bill will be there again, and Senator Friend won't be there this time to block it in the Senate. Are you for or against that, Steve?
Well, I think that providing information to a pregnant woman is a very good thing. The 24-hour waiting period, I think, will work if you will allow the information to be given to the woman locally by her own doctor or through the mail if she prefers. But giving her the information 24 hours in advance will work. But I'm not in favor of it if you're going to require that woman to go to Lexington or Louisville or Northern Kentucky and sign something in a doctor's office and then wait 24 hours. I think that's unreasonable. But I do think that women should be provided information on what they're doing, and I don't have a problem with that, but I think it can be done locally to provide them the information, let them make their own decisions about what they want to do.
John?
What is it now that you're saying to be for or against?
There's a bill in the legislature, the last term, I think the last two terms, before a woman could get an abortion, requiring, as I understood it, the people at the abortion clinic.
That's correct.
During that 24-hour period, to tell her the various disadvantages of an abortion and what she was doing, and advise her to think about it. And then the law also imposed certain stricter rules on how abortion clinics handle abortions. And that bill's been there both terms and three terms. Well, I know at least two, and Kelsey Friend killed it in the Senate every time, but Kelsey's no longer there. And my question is, do you favor legislation like that or not?
I'm against a 24-hour waiting period. And as far as the specifics of the legislation about the more stringent rules and things, not seeing the bill, I don't know what the specifics are, but generally, as a general proposition, I'm against a 24-hour waiting period.
We're running short of time here, but there's several other things we'll try to address quickly. In your ads, both of you propose new things, and yet we sit here tonight and talk about revenue, and we talk about, in essence, at least by implication, because I haven't directly asked you, but by implication both of you are opposed to increasing taxes. Now my question is, how are you going to finance these additional programs that you all are talking about, and particularly in view of the fact, and I don't care whether it's a Democrat or a Republican president or a Democrat or a Republican Congress, 2 years, the next 2 years, there's going to be less federal revenue for various social programs, and they're going to be placed on the state by means of block grants and otherwise. Some of it is just going to be dumped, and there won't even be block grants, in my opinion. Well, there's already been some dumping going on in minor stuff. Both of you agree, and you know what I'm talking about. Now, my question is, how are you going to finance these new ideas that you got and meet the burdens that the state already has and maintain the services that the state is now providing? Essentially, and about the only time we've got, because there's another subject here that I want to address, because I think in some respects it's the more important than anything we have discussed. But if, in order to get some of these programs that you want, it becomes necessary to raise taxes, or if it becomes necessary to maintain the level of the programs that you've got now with reductions in the federal grants and so forth, are you in favor of readjusting the tax code and getting more money to take care of them, or what are you going to do, Steve?
Okay, I'm not in favor of any tax increases. If we make any adjustments in that, certainly I think they'll be moderate and well received. But for drug awareness and drug prevention, we're spending $1.4 million in federal dollars. We're not spending any state dollars on that program, and I think it's very important that we focus. If that's going to be a priority of ours, then we need to step up and spend whatever it takes on drug awareness, drug prevention. For our volunteer fire departments, for professional police officers and professional firefighters, we have incentive pay money that each person pays all right. What are you asking?
That's enough.
Okay.
We've got multi-billion dollars spent in state government, Mr. Barrickman, and there's a lot of fat in waste in state government. Governor Patton has looked at that. Looking forward to working with him on cutting out whatever waste there is, and I think we can find the dollars to do what we need to get done.
In this last session of Congress, there were 5 or 6 or maybe even 7 constitutional amendments proposed, amendments to the federal Constitution. I feel that some of those are going to be passed by this next session of Congress. It takes 2/3 vote of both houses. And then they go to the states. And it takes 3/4 of the states to ratify them, but both houses of the state legislature has to vote for ratification. I think, as a lawyer, that everybody ought to seriously think before they start tampering with the federal Constitution. I'm going to mention these amendments that I know were introduced the last time and ask you whether you would be for or against in the event they reach the legislature while you are there. And we've only got about 2 minutes to do this. One of them is the prayer amendment in school. Would you be for or against it?
For.
How's it worded?
I don't know. They just say an amendment to allow prayer in school. And I have never seen the wording of the amendment.
Okay, would be for that.
Abortion, an amendment, a federal amendment to the federal Constitution, absolutely, teetotally prohibiting abortion. For or against it?
Against.
Against.
Term limits for federal officials, for or against?
I've been for it in the past.
Would you be for it in the state also, as far as the state constitution is concerned?
Possibly.
Same question to you, John.
We have a little event coming up November 5th called elections, and that's what I feel like term limits are. I'm against term limits imposed, constitutional or statutory.
Balanced budget amendment for the federal government.
I'm for it.
4.
Flag amendment. Prohibiting and making it a federal law to desecrate the flag, make a...
I'm for it, you.
100% for
100% for it. A crime victims amendment. In other words, specifying certain rights to for crime victims.
We're doing that here in Kentucky right now.
So you're for it, would
Yes,
be for it.
For it. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, that's all the time we got. As far as I'm concerned, we're right on the money here. I appreciate your coming. I think it's been an interesting evening. We've covered a lot of subjects. I hope the public out there have a better idea of what you gentlemen are for and what you are against. Good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.